Hello dear learners, I'll continue discuss about the technological impact. In the previous session, I have talked about very basic components of the technological environmental changes and how it is going to impact the functioning of public organization. In this session, I am going to go into little more details of how technological environmental changes shapes the environment of public organizations and how it is going to impact the functioning of the organization. The very first aspect is technology helps in enhancing the efficiency of the service delivery. Any kind of programs which are being implemented, the technology enhance efficiency and the experience of service delivery. The first aspect among these are the process automation. Now, technology facilitates the automation of the tasks which are done by the organization on continuous basis. Now, this automation, it enables the public organization to smooth or streamline their operations, because technology helps in streamlining the operations of public organization. It saves people's time, right? And also because of technology application into the way-to-way office working, it also help reduce the delays, bureaucratic delays, right? Because technology, the things have gone online. There is no file system which is happening from one office to the another. Things have gone online, the processes are automated. So what happens is, once the operations are streamlined, other is it reduce unnecessary bureaucratic delays. Now, this not only improve the performance of people in the organization, but it allows people with more time to devote to more complex the task which require more human input, right? So instead of devoting much more time into manual working, if you make your process more automated, it allows a lot of flexibility and provides a lot of freedom to the people to focus on much more complex tasks where their involvement is highly required. Now, let's look at an example of e-office by National Informatics Centers, and I have given this reference and link here also for your reading. You should go to this particular link and find out how e-office by National Informatics Center is changing the way organizations are going to function or are functioning. Let me give you very brief about what this e-office is all about. E-office by National Informatics Center is a very important part of Digital India program, right? It is an important platform to achieve responsive, simplified, effective, accountable and transparent working in the government organizations, right? So, the application of or the implementation of e-office allows for more simplified, responsive, transparent and accountable working in the government organization. One, it provides a lot of speed and the efficiency of e-office. It's not only assists the departments in informed and quicker decisions, right, but also help them go paperless. I just talked about that there's no need for continue to do manual work. You can make the process automated. So once it is making your process more simplified, and you're also helping in one or the other way to saving the environment because you are using less paper. Now, this basically is a digital workplace solution, and it has been built on an open architecture. If you go to this particular link, you will have much more details on this, and this can be actually replicated in the various offices across the government, right? Depending upon their needs, depending on what kind of process they want to automate, this particular e-office application can help the organization in terms of replication across the government. Now, this particular product has several applications. I'm talking about e-office. It has several applications which helps the government organization to change, or I would say positive change in terms of transforming how they carry on their day-to-day work activities in the organization, right? Let me give you some example of some 4 to 5 applications that they have listed on the link here. First is e-file, is file management system under e-office. It's basically a workflow system that extend the normal features of the manual handling of the files in addition to more efficient electronic system. So what happens is whatever manual work you are doing, you can take it online in terms of sorting, in terms of storing and placing the document in the system there, so that they are easily accessible and available for you for longer period of time. Second one is KMS, which is knowledge management system. Now, this particular component of e-office, as stated in the document and the link there, is about creating the central repository of documents in the organization. So why it is called as knowledge management? Because the documents, when you store, it becomes a part of your knowledge. It can be used as references for subsequent decision making, can support the various things that the government organizations are going to do, or can provide the inputs for the decision to be taken. So these particular file management system and the documents in terms of repository allows organizations to make use of this particular knowledge, the older documents and how decisions were taken, what data is there, what files were there, what decisions were taken before. So it helps the organization to look into this particular aspect, and it is a knowledge being created. And if it is more manual, you will not be able to find out where the particular files are. But if they are located at a central repository, it will act as knowledge being created and can be used for the subsequent activities of the organization. Then another is WAM portal, work from anywhere portal. This particular is the platform in which is a kind of a virtual office from anywhere. Basically, it is a one-stop portal, as they mention, for office functions, and they connects the officials to securely access their access their office from anywhere, right? This also allows the government officials to work from anywhere. They can have an access to their documents and their office from anywhere. So it becomes much more efficient, because it provides a lot of flexibility, and the systems are much more adaptable. The final aspect is the aspect of Sparrow, which means smart performance appraisal reporting recording online window. This particular is a web-based application, as I have mentioned, that this product talks about, is for processing the annual performance appraisal review of the employees in the organization. So these are the four aspects I'm talking about. The e-office, which provides a lot of help to the organizations, and it impacts the functioning of the organization. So see how the process automation can help the organization enhance efficiency and the service delivery. So I'm talking about the impact of the technology in the functioning of the organization. So first one, I've talked about the process automation, and the example I have taken is e-office. You all are suggested to go to this particular link and find out more about the NIC and the products. The second aspect of enhancing efficiency and service delivery is data integration. Very important concept. Now, what is the meaning of integrated data system? Now, we talk about when the data are integrated and they are stored in the cloud storage, it enhances the accessibility of this data, right? And when you are storing, you can better manage this data, which is a large amount of public data. And the country like India, so vast population, the amount of data that we have for this thing, if we are storing this data and we are integrating in this kind of a system, so this particular support automated decision making. How? Because when we have data of, for example, a lot of policies are being implemented, lots of programs are there for the citizens. Now, how well these programs are doing, there's data being collected. For example, if we talk about the education policy or health policy or something to do with the businesses, so there's a lot of data collected in terms of how many people are taking the benefits of these programs, what is the effectiveness and efficiencies of this program, and all this kind of data is collected. So it provides immediate feedback to the government in terms of what is happening at the ground level, and then it provides the input for the government to further improve the implementation and bringing in changes in the policy design to increase the effectiveness of the organization, right? I'm taking the example of open government data, which of course I'll take you to the link also. The objective of this particular open government data platform is to facilitate access to government-owned shareable data. If you go to the link, you will find a lot more information about this thing, and it is available in more readable form, easy to understand data, and this is basically updated periodically in the way of how many people are getting the benefits from the services, what the data talked about, right? Now, what happens is this not only promote the wider accessibility and the application of the government on data, it the potential of the data for national development. because the kind of data that we are gathering, what people are saying, how many people are getting benefit out of it, we have data for this thing. So ultimately it provides a lot of inputs and the feedback to the government and public organization to further improve the efficiency and effectiveness of these things, right? Let me take you to this particular website and see the amount of data which is available on this platform. Look at this. You can discover databases by economy, education, environment and forest, health and family welfare, information and communication, labor and employment, science and technology, and many more, right? And not only the data sets are available, there is also engagement through this data. There are communities being created. People are talking about. There are blogs where people are sharing their feedbacks. There are Aadhaar permanent enrollment centers state-wise. For example, Tamil Nadu they are talking about. We can talk about Andhra Pradesh, Punjab, many others. Right? Let me give you an example and take you to the data on, let's say, education. Now you click on this thing and you look at district-wide number of the scheduled caste students in the institutions of Punjab, enrollment by age and class, unified district information system for education plus, district performance grading indexed, and lot many other data are available. Look at the kind of vast amount of data it has. Let's take another example of look at the one of the other thing to what kind of data. Let me take you to labor and employment for that matter. So look at the way the kind of data is being gathered. Labor welfare scheme, health under Directorate General Labor Welfare, key indicators related to national accounts, e-shram registrations, employee state insurance scheme, medical services, and look at the way number of the indicators are highlighted here. What are happening in the services, blogs, and infographics and all. Now, this particular access of the data to the public, and the government is sharing this data because it is shareable data as per the rules and laws. So you see this also the dashboard on analytics here. So this only increase the perception of people in respect of what they think about the government in terms of their functioning. So these shareable data, when people are able to have a look at it, they can read this data and can find out what is the applicability of the programs, implementation of the programs. It allows for assessment of the public policies and the implementation and the functioning of the organizations more transparent, and hence the more level of trust, right? So I suggest you all of the learners here to have a look at this particular website and see how open government data can help the organizations to come up with better policies, policy design and implementation, or if there are policy implemented, how they can make it better in terms of improving the implementation and increases the level of trust of the citizens in the public organizations functioning and the government, right? Another important aspect of how technology shapes the environment is improving transparency and accountability. Now, in this I am talking about the use of electronic monitoring tools, such as cameras or drones that help enforce regulations and of course gather data for better decision making, right? Now, what this does is this actually helps increasing this particular transparency, helps in fostering accountability within public organizations, right? Let us take an example of monitoring technology in terms of use of drones in crop health monitoring or city service. It says that agricultural drones, which are basically used to have a look at how the things are being done, with special multispectral and infrared cameras. They are basically used to make an assessment of the plant health, and depending upon what is happening in the crops there, the professional can implement, the remedial actions can be taken to improve further. So this data is being gathered. Look at the way the transportation data is being collected, by, with the traffic, the cameras there, which collects a lot of data of the traffic, and with the help of these cameras and the drones, a lot of information is being collected on the management of the cities. So it allows for much more information gathering by the government so that they can improve their functioning, and also help help the government becomes more transparent and accountable for their actions. Another important way of how technology shapes the environment is public access to information. Now, if you look at the how technology enables the general public to to access the government activities, which can further help in rebuilding of the trust in the public organizations and also make the operations much more transparent. I want to like to give you example of RTI, Right to Information Act of 2005, which allows and gives the authority to, or I will say freedom to the citizens to write the access of information from public authorities, right? Because it promotes accountability and transparency. The law demands and then expects the government organization being transparent in sharing the information about how various activities are being done. For example, how money is being spent, because it's the public money collected through the taxes, and how this is being used, what is the proper utilization of the funds, how certain decisions are taken in the organization. Now, so it empowers the citizens to to seek to disclose information about government programs, functions and processes. So this is another important application of how technology can shape the environment of organizations. Third important factor is it facilitates citizens engagement. For example, chatbots and virtual assistant. Example is MyGov Corona Help Desk chatbot. So these technologies, when I talk about, they provide all long access, 24/7 access of information to the services to improve overall experience of the citizen in terms of experience of their service delivery. But at the same time, they can also raise a concern about, when the people don't have access to technology. For example, if we talk about internet penetration or we talk about education level, all the people might not have that kind of access to technology and might not know about how to use this technology. So it has also some limitation in terms of creating the digital divide, right? So, but at the same time, these applications like these, because it has a very simple interface and a user-friendly approach. I'm talking about the MyGov Corona Help Desk WhatsApp chatbot. So it provides user with wide range of information when during the COVID pandemic. For example, COVID vaccination, professional advice on improving immunity through Ayush and yoga, and where to get help from. So immediate information is available. So this technology has helped in facilitating the citizen engagement. Again, the role of the technology in shaping the environment of the organization and help increase the efficiency of their service delivery. Real-time feedback, digital capabilities allow for real-time citizen feedback through online platforms. Now, this particular engagement can enhance responsiveness and in particular adaptability in public services, aligning them more closely with community needs, right? So when you are having interactions with people in terms of collecting data or understanding the reviews in terms of gathering it through various platforms, you have put in place the systems with which people can start sharing their viewpoints. Ultimately, it provides a lot of impetus to the organization in terms of becoming more responsive and more adaptable according to the demands of the community, and hence can lead to the better transparency, increasing the level of trust among the citizens and a positive perception of the government organization, right? Now, though technology has shaped the environment of the public organization, and it allows a lot of freedom in terms of how the organization wants to function and to be perceived as by citizens, and they make use of technology up to a greater extent to improve the functioning, it also has some kind of challenges. For example, resource constraint. A resource constraint, largely I'm talking about from the funds point of view. They often face limitation, because resources are scarce. We don't say that we have large amount of resources available and we can use them up to our maximum extent of providing the best of the things. But the thing is, because the resources are scarce, public organizations often face the financial limitations, which sometimes can hinder the adoptions of the advanced technology. So this particular thing can lead to inadequate staffing sometime, and resources for effective technology integration because they don't have budget with them. So resource constraints in terms of budget cuts I'm talking about is a challenge of the adoption and implementation of the advanced technology for the public organizations functioning, right? It is also true for other organizations, not only for public organization, because resources are limited, there are constraints. So what is going to be suitable for the organization with respect to the budget? Sometimes they have to make choices for an alternative which is not best, but the second or the third alternative which is more suitable and comes under the the budget consideration of the organization. So they have to make the decision in that way. So these are some of the challenges. Another challenge is equity concern. I just talked about that people who don't have access to technology, or perhaps who do not know how to use technology, to get the access and assess the functioning of the organization, it can create a digital divide, right? It's another challenge, and it's to do with equity concern. Though people who have access to technology, they're educated, they have know how to use technology, they have that technology with them, they are smart in terms of understanding more about the functioning of the organizations, public organizations online, they perhaps have better access, but others who do not have, so it can create that kind of a divide, which is another challenge in implementation of technology, right? But the thing is, we have to take all people along. It's not that because of technology is there, let's do things in technology way. What about those people who do not have? So we also have to think about those people. So in that way, we can say that sometimes technology can act as a barrier for people who are unable to access it, right? So because people are unable to access it, it can also further led to the lack of access for these people about other various government programs, right? Now, what is the impact of the technology on organizational performance? The first one is agility and adaptability. Now, these advanced digital capabilities, it actually contributes to the organizational agility. They make organization more agile, meaning allowing public agencies to respond more effectively depending upon the environmental changes happening outside, and depending upon what the citizen needs are. So the adaptability is basically very, very essential. If the organizations are not going to be adaptable as per the changing need, ultimately it can negatively impact the organizational performance, because people will have then very negative evaluation of the programs or the policies by the government, or in general the actions of the government, right? So agility in terms of response and adaptability in terms of meeting the expectations and satisfying the expectations and demands of the stakeholders in terms of more adaptability is much more required. Let us take an example of how technology has provided organizations and how the organization become more adaptable, and it helped the organization to increase the organization performance. If you know that during COVID time, the existing technologies like UIDAI, DigiLocker, they all have helped the building and creating the COVID app. Now, this has been leveraged, this particular app. It has leveraged many existing technologies like I've just talked about, UIDAI and DigiLocker. So the government of India's experience in rolling out solution at a scale such as UPI and Aadhaar helped in development of COVID app, right? So this is basically an interoperable platform designed to handle the scale. You see, large number of people and large amount of information is to be collected and put in place in terms of storage, so that can be used for further things. Now, this particular also has created a verifiable credentialing with the WHO, for digital documentation of COVID-19. So for example, if these certificates are available online, and it is also linked with the other databases like Aadhaar and DigiLocker, it enables the seamless travel internationally, right? So this particular thing has not only smoothened the processes, but also helped the organization improve the functioning and performance of the organization. Another important aspect is with respect to the performance measurement. Now, the integration of technology into the performance management, it can actually enhance the evaluation process. Now, in terms of collection of data, I just talked about the website data.gov.in, which I have shared with you. I've shown the website. The amount of data that we are collecting and the integration of this particular the technology with that kind of data, and then it is then embedded in the performance management system, can actually help in the evaluation process, right? For example, if you look at the data on business, it gives edge for rankings in ease of doing business, etc. Now, it basically ease of doing is a is a ranking system established by the World Bank Group, wherein the higher rankings indicates that the better, usually simple regulations for business and stronger protection of property rights, right? So when we say that technology, how it is linked to the performance measurement or agility and adaptability, we are talking about how technology is integrated in the functioning of the government organizations in order to provide a better experience, helping the other organizers. For example, business organization can get an edge. For example, ease of doing business I just talked about, it plays a very crucial role in actually increasing the overall perception of people in terms of the functioning of the government and public organizations. So while concluding, I will say technology plays a very crucial role in shaping the environment of public organizations. How? It enhances efficiency, it improves transparency, and also it facilitates and promotes the citizen engagement, impacting the overall performance. But at the same time, I also says that the resource constraints and the equity issues that I have just mentioned, they must be addressed to fully realize the potential benefits of the application of technology in the government and public organizations, right? So with this, we have completed the very first aspect of the technological environment and its impact on the functioning of public organizations. So the link that I have shared are very, very important for you to go through, especially go through the e-office by National Informatics Center and have a look at this particular website www.data.gov.in to get more information about what kind of data are available, and perhaps some of you might want to use this kind of data for some kind of research to enhance your own understanding of the policy. The doctoral students who are much more interested in the area of public policy and implementation may make use of this website, right? So it becomes handy and provides you a lot of inputs in improving your own research, and possibly can help you in getting good work, research work, and hence publications, right? Let's look at the research insight of this particular environment component, technological environment component, in the study of Akshay E-Kendras in Kerala. The objective of this study was, the study investigate the success factors influencing e-governance services provided through Common Service Centers, CSCs, in India, focusing on Akshay E-Kendras in Kerala. So now we are going to look at the application of technological environment and how it shapes and related to the outcomes. We are going to look at it with the study of Uthaman and Vasanta Gopal in an article titled Key Success Factors for the E-Governance Initiative through Common Service Centers in India, an empirical study with special reference to Akshay E-Kendras in Kerala, published in Indian Journal of Public Administration. Those of you you are interested in knowing more about it, please go through this paper, very interesting paper. So what they have done is they find out the top success factors that influence e-governance services, which with a focus on Akshay E-Kendras in Kerala. The study highlighted that the top success factors are most significant determinant of common service centers' success is service quality, meaning trained staff and efficient service delivery lead to better citizen satisfaction. So I talked about in the beginning of this particular module, I talked about when service providers and these receivers are in close proximity. So when people are trained and they are good in providing these services, it actually enhances the overall experience of the citizens, which can actually lead to the higher level of citizen satisfaction and hence more the trust within the government and public organization. Transparency is another factor in displaying clear information on rules, services and costs. It actually boosts public trust. So information is available to everybody. So if you are very, very clear about your information, There is no hidden things there. Everybody knows about the processes in detail, about rules and what kind of services, and of course cost attached to those services. It only increases the transparency. So they found that, researchers found that these are the top success factors in influencing e-governance services, right? Then is convenience. The third important factor: reduce time, cost and effort for citizens accessing government services. It enhances the satisfaction of people there. Then the study also talked about the moderately contributing factors. One is accessibility. Convenient operating hours and personalized service positively affect success. They also contribute, but they are moderately contributing. The top success factors are service quality, transparency and convenience. But in this study, they found out also there are other factors which are contributing towards the application, but they are not the top factors. They are moderately contributing factors. One is accessibility, then is the system quality. In terms of smooth data management and minimal system errors improve users' experience, in other important factors. Interoperability, we talked about also interoperability, seamless data exchange among agencies facilitate better governance. For example, we talked about the data integration of Aadhaar, DigiLocker, and the mapping and linkage of Aadhaar card with the banking agencies, then DigiLocker access of the documents. So in terms of the benefits, receivers, so when it is linked, it is basically mapped properly. The linkage which is being established, and with the help of technology, what government is going to do is so that the ultimate beneficiaries should receive the benefits, and then there is no overlap or there is no confusion or the fraud in the system, right? Then e-participation is another factor. For example, involvement of citizen in feedback and grievance process is beneficial but underutilized. So it has to be, it has to pick up in terms of getting the citizen more involved in the process and asking for the feedback and grievance process, because it is going to be very, very beneficial in order to improve the services. So the all idea that I'm saying is we need to look at it from the positive angle, that it is not about punishing the people who are doing it wrong. It's about understanding what went wrong. And of course, if somebody has deliberately done it wrong, of course, there are the rules and regulations that have to be followed. But if it is beyond the control and there are some kind of lacunas in the design or implementation, of course, the citizen engagement in terms of feedback and the grievance process can help improving the processes. Least contributing factors, as I have mentioned, is trust. Very, very important, though it plays a secondary role compared to service and transparency. One of the reasons is basically, transparency leads to trust. If the systems are more transparent and services that the people are getting, they are effective and efficient, so it leads to the trust. So that's why we talked about in the first slide, the most contributing factors are transparency and convenience. So this particular can lead to service quality. These all can actually lead to the level of trust, right? So that comes secondary, right? So primary are the services received and the level of transparency which is maintained by the public service provider. Infrastructure, basic facilities are essential but do not directly influence success as strongly as another factors, right? The important is how the services are being delivered, being more convenient and more transparent. Infrastructure is important, but in their study they did not found it very important influencing factors as far as this study is concerned. Now, the recommendations authors have provided is strengthen the e-participation, improve grievance redressal and citizen feedback mechanisms to foster accountability, and also follow uniform standards. Ensure consistent service delivery across all the centers by adhering to Citizens Charter. Enhance infrastructure, address infrastructure gaps to provide uninterrupted services, especially in the remote areas. Now, in this case, we have taken example of this particular, paper, but like these, there are several other papers you can find out to understand the application of technology and how it shapes the environment of public organizations. So, it is important depending upon what interest area, because technology is a very broad area and it has a different type of applications which are suitable for the government functioning and the public organization functioning. So depending upon your area of interest within technology, you can find out more research papers and try to find out how technology is impacting the environment of government and public organizations. So with this, we are concluding the first important factor of technology in the government organization. I will continue with the other factors in the next session.